Welcome back to another episode of Change Talk. I would like to take a moment and personally thank you for watching today's episode. Without supporters such as yourself, we wouldn't be in business, since referrals from professionals and clients constitute about 90% of our overall revenue. Remember that your vote certainly matters, and if you know someone in need of professional counseling services, please feel free to point them in our direction for a free over-the-phone or in-person consultation. Talking about money, perhaps one of the greatest myths we tell ourselves is that money does not buy happiness. Being one of those few licensed providers that take state insurance, let me be the first and foremost person to tell you that my low-income clients would beg to differ concerning this widely accepted saying. Most spousal arguments and associated stress typically, in some way, revolves around paying the mortgage or those bills that come your way. The most recent research on this topic indicates the sweet spot number for a desirable income, which is roughly $70,000 per person, where money is no longer a burden and you can start affording to do such things, such as go on vacation, pay for daycare, pay for your surgery deductible, and take days off from work. After $70,000, most researchers agree that there generally is nominal increase in overall happiness, and that people tend to continuously then raise the bar with their new increased quality of life spending. But what is overall wellness? The first thing I typically talk about during the first session with a client is their quality of sleep. Sleep, for most people, is either problematic or non-restorative, especially if you have the following mental health diagnosis. The majority of people that have met with me have at least at one time in their lives tried a prescribed or over-the-counter sleep medication, thinking that a magic pill would make their problems go away. Unfortunately, especially during the next day, discovering that they feel like a zombie or suffer some sort of side effect from those depressant medications that tend to make matters worse in your life. Before diving into sleep hygiene any further, let me make clear that this video is not intended to be viewed as medical or mental health advice. There are just too many variables in your life that I am not accounting for that can't be covered in this short video. And those videos are typically tools to encourage you to find professional guidance. With that said, please speak both to your primary care physician and mental health provider before implementing any of today's changes in your life. Sleep hygiene is one of those things people think that they have a grasp on, and in their defense, a lot is common sense that people may already know. However, not understanding the implementation and follow-through of these principles could end in disastrous results, followed by desperation. The circadian rhythm, or the chemical parade our minds follow towards a more restful and restorative sleep, is something that has been programmed inside of us based off of thousands of years of evolution. For you conspiracy nuts out there, you'll be intrigued to find out that when astronauts go into space, their sleep cycle is eventually changed to represent a 25-hour day, mirroring a Martian day cycle. For the rest of us, we operate on a slightly faster paced 24-hour day. Eating on the run, skipping meals, electronics, children, problems in our lives, and even the temperature in our home can all negatively influence your quality of sleep. To start, let's talk about that common sense stuff that everyone should know. You should go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning. If you're going to cheat with this principle, like many of us will, then realize that it is more important to wake up at the same time every morning than to go to sleep at the same time every night. There is no such thing as catching up on sleep or receiving much of any benefit by staying in bed all day. Next, stay away from cats for you allergy sufferers. That would be caffeine, alcohol, tobacco, and sugar, which can all influence your sleep in a negative way. Stress by itself is a big one, and despite having a notepad next to your bed, most people choose to rely on their memory to hold important information and simply cannot write it down in bullet points of things that need to get done or that they will need to remember. Writing down information not only helps you remember important stuff, but for those of you that ruminate about your day-to-day problems or things that you need to get done, will be significantly helpful to you. This behavior actually places on paper what has been festering on your mind, and gives permission to your brain to let go and stop ruminating about things. Engagement devices such as books and mechanical games such as lock-picking devices should help you reset the brain and conk out sooner. 20 minutes should be the number that you should take with you from this video. If you find yourself lying in bed for more than 20 minutes, then Houston, we have a problem and you need to get out of bed and find an engagement device to help settle you back down. Speaking of leaving your bedroom, for those of you that know the power of setting conditions and behavioral patterns, these people won't be surprised to hear that lying in bed, eating food, watching TV, and various other endeavors also tricks your brain into thinking that your bed is also to be used when you're awake. Talk about sending your noggin mixed signals. Your bed should be used for sleep and perhaps those intimate moments in your life, and that's it. Yes, this includes television and other stimulating activities such as your cell phone. Now, for the stuff you may not already know, talking about cell phones and televisions, they emit what's called a blue light. You know how those TVs say backlit displays and all that jazz? This light is something that is extremely confusing for your mind. You see, melatonin, or the sleep chemical, which is produced when our minds think that it's awake, and one of the ways it does this is through bright white light exposure. You know those light bulb charts, and on the back of the package it indicates warm or cool light bulb temperature? If you have a nightstand, try to pick the warm bulbs, since they most closely represent the sun going down and will assist your brain towards releasing melatonin and not producing it. Melatonin acts by dropping your overall body temperature by roughly 1 degree, signaling your body it's time for sleep. Knowing that temperature affects your body and the quality of sleep, it is no surprise that on hot days we have problems in the sleep department, for instance during the summer. How can we use this knowledge to our advantage, however? Well, for one thing, the things you have control over involving heat, such as your thermostat, removing blankets, air conditioning, hot showers, and so on, is something you should take into account. Typically, you want to take a warm bath or shower roughly 1.5 to 2 hours before bedtime, giving your body enough time to cool itself down. Have one of those programmable thermostats? Try dropping the house temperature 2 degrees a half hour before bedtime. Still having trouble? Scissor kick your bed sheets with one leg exposed on top for better body temperature regulation. For the person that just mentioned that you can buy melatonin at the grocery store, I suggest speaking with your doctor about using 0.5 milligrams to 1 milligram of melatonin every night. That's right, try to stay away from that 10 milligram pill at the same price that you think is a bargain, but it's really going to screw you up. You know that expression, too much of a good thing is a bad thing? That definitely applies to melatonin when it comes to your quality of sleep, not just for tonight, but also for tomorrow night as well. Melatonin should work within roughly 15 minutes after taking it. And if it's not working by then, chances are it's not working and perhaps something else is going on. Your diet, for instance, might also be the culprit here. Talk about sending mixed messages to your brain. What kind of message do you think you are sending if you have a midnight snack or have a meal 2 hours before bedtime? It's sort of like saying, okay intestines, I want you to keep doing what you're doing, and everyone else, I want you to take the night off. That is a physical impossibility, by the way, since all of your bodily functions work together. Preferably, try the best you can to have a 3-hour window before eating any sort of food. So, if light affects your melatonin levels and production during the day, well, what if you have lived in a cave for thousands of years? Or more likely today, are in an office, basement, work third shift, or are situated in a darker than usual environment? Then you want to produce that blue light during the day that we were talking about artificially through the use of one of those cool bulbs that we were talking about. Heck, maybe even try taking a break outside for a change, if that's something that's permitted at work. Light therapy, believe it or not, is very effective at treating various types of sleeping disorders. Sleeping disorders typically represent problems falling or staying asleep. There are even some people that wake up so early in the morning that it drives them insane. Sleep cycles vary depending on age, health, and level of activity. But it's safe to say that babies are around 45 minutes, children 1 hour, and adults 90 minutes. Geriatrics, I'm sorry to say that number starts going backwards depending on a lot of things. So if it takes 90 minutes to complete one sleep cycle, which takes you through the 4 stages of sleep, then how many cycles constitute an 8-hour night? The answer is 5, since people generally don't fall asleep right away and don't get a full 8 hours. What is the purpose of sleep, you ask? Well, the latest research indicates 2 things. The most widely known, of course, is memory processing. One of the reasons why many studies indicate that many victims of trauma have problems making it to the 3rd stage of sleep, which is also called rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep. That's when your eyes flutter and activate memory storage centers of your brain. However, here comes the fun stuff. Leading edge research is beginning to indicate that the night is also important for flushing out our brain's toxins and all that bad stuff. These toxins include proteins and other dead cells. Yes, I'm talking about recovering from that rock concert you went to the other night. Unlike the rest of the body that has its own waste management system, the mind operates very differently. It's thought to collapse its neurons in an effort to flush out all the bad stuff through our spinal fluid. Yuck, I know. There is a really good book called Spark by Dr. John Rady that you might be interested in. He states that, for instance, exercise kills brain cells. Now, before you start using that as an excuse not to exercise, I'm going to tell you that you want to exfoliate some of those dead, sickly, or useless brain cells in that head of yours, and that the brain actually does grow new brain cells. Exercise also raises almost every neurotransmitter in the brain and improves blood oxygen content, leading to clearer thoughts and happier days. The only thing I'll say about dreams is typically most therapists are encouraged not to conduct dream analysis since the science is sort of shady. The only thing you need to know about dreams is that how you are feeling during the dream may have psychological significance, and that the dream itself seems more than just a dream. Well, then it might be a memory and not a dream. See, sleep hygiene is a real science that we all tend to overlook from time to time. The important thing to realize is that change in the sleep department, since it is a delicate balancing act, could take weeks to start showing any real positive changes. If you suck it up, during the next couple of weeks especially, stick to the plan and listen to what your doctor says, there is a lot of hope that your sleep duration and overall sleep quality will greatly improve. If this still doesn't improve, this may be a sign that there is a sleeping disorder going on, or perhaps one of those Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders diagnoses, which is influencing your sleep. Get ready for next week when we cover diagnosis and the major classes of disorders out there in therapy land. See you next week, and spread the word. Change is here.